In the quiet void of the cosmos, where stars are born and galaxies stretch endlessly, a young comet named Lyra drifts alone. Her tail flickers faintly, a soft glow against the darkness, as she wonders if there's more to her existence than this endless wandering. One day, her path crosses with a dying star, its light fading fast. In its final moments, the star whispers a plea, a request that could change everything. It asks Lyra to carry its light to a distant galaxy, a place where countless worlds wait in shadow. Suddenly, Lyra's quiet journey is no longer just about drifting. It's about a choice, to remain solitary, untethered, or to embrace a mission that could bring light to those who need it most. But the path ahead is uncertain, and the trials she'll face are beyond anything she's ever known. This is the story of a wandering comet who dared to dream of purpose, and the journey that would test her courage, her resolve, and the very essence of who she is. Lyra's journey takes a harrowing turn as she hurtles closer to the dying star, her icy facade trembling under the strain of its final, defiant glow. The star's light, once a beacon of life and warmth, now pulses with a haunting rhythm, as if whispering its last secrets to her. Each burst of energy she absorbs feels like 1,000 voices, crying out at once. Memories of ancient worlds, forgotten civilizations, and the star's own fiery birth. It's overwhelming, almost too much to bear, and Lyra's core shudders as she tries to process it all. The pain is excruciating, a searing heat that threatens to crack her icy shell and scatter her essence into the void. But amidst the chaos, something inside her shifts. She begins to understand that this isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. The star's memories, its energy, are gifts, even if they come at a cost. Lyra realizes she must learn to harness this power, to mold it into something she can control. If she doesn't, she risks becoming nothing more than a fleeting echo, consumed by the very force she seeks to master. And so, she makes a choice. Despite the agony, despite the uncertainty of what lies ahead, Lyra pushes forward. Her determination hardens like the ice that encases her, and she embraces the unknown with a courage she didn't know she possessed. This isn't just a journey through space and more, it's a journey within herself. Every flicker of the star's fading light becomes a lesson, a step closer to understanding her own potential. As she accelerates, the weight of the star's memories begins to feel less like a burden and more like a map, guiding her towards something greater. Yet, the path ahead is shrouded in mystery. Where will this energy take her? What lies beyond the dying star's final breath? Lyra doesn't have the answers, but for the first time, she's willing to find out. Her story is no longer just about drifting aimlessly through the cosmos. It's about forging a destiny as vast and luminous as the stars themselves. As Lyra drifted through the endless expanse of space, her newfound light began to ripple outward, casting soft, shimmering waves across the darkness. For the first time, she felt alive, her glow a testament to the journey she had undertaken. But in the vast void, light is rarely unnoticed. It wasn't long before her radiance caught the attention of something far more menacing. A rogue asteroid, ancient and relentless, drifting silently through the cosmos. The asteroid, hungry and blind, mistook Lyra's glow for something it could consume. It surged toward her, its jagged edges glinting faintly in the starlight. Lyra's heart, or what passed for a heart in her ethereal form, pounded as she felt the first faint tug of its gravitational pull. The closer it came, the stronger the force grew, threatening to drag her into its crushing embrace. She twisted and turned, her light flickering with panic as she fought against the invisible chains of gravity. With every ounce of strength, Lyra pushed herself away, her light burning brighter in her desperation. She barely escaped, the asteroid's shadow passing so close she could almost feel its cold, lifeless surface. For a moment, she floated in stunned silence, her glow dimmed by the shock of the encounter. The realization hit her like a meteor strike. She was no longer invisible. Her light, once a quiet secret, had become a beacon, drawing both wonder and danger. Fear crept in, whispering to her, would it be safer to dim her light, to hide once more in the safety of obscurity? The thought was tempting, but as she lingered in the quiet aftermath, something stirred within her. Her light wasn't just a vulnerability, it was a part of her, a testament to her courage and growth. To dim, it would be to deny the very essence of who she had become. With resolve, Lyra made her choice. She allowed her light to shine brighter than ever before, a defiant spark against the vast, consuming darkness. It was a bold decision, one that carried risks, but it also marked the beginning of something extraordinary. In embracing her brilliance, Lyra began to transform. No longer just a wandering comet, she became a beacon of hope, her light, a guide for others lost in the void. And so, her journey continued, not as a solitary wanderer, but as a luminous force, carving a path through the stars. The rogue asteroid had been a test, a moment of reckoning, and Lyra had emerged not weaker, but stronger, her light a symbol of resilience and the courage to shine, even when the universe feels vast and unforgiving. As Lyra drifted further into the vast expanse of space, her light flickered against the swirling clouds of a colossal nebula. This place was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its colors shimmered like a forgotten dream, and its silence carried the weight of countless untold stories. But as she ventured deeper, she began to notice something strange. Within the nebula's embrace, comets floated listlessly, their once brilliant tails now dim and lifeless. These were not wanderers like her. They were prisoners, trapped in a cycle of despair that seemed to seep into the very fabric of the nebula itself. The Lost Comets turned their weary gazes toward Lyra, their voices a chorus of caution and sorrow. They warned her of the dangers that lay ahead, of the darkness that consumed everything in its path, of the futility of hope in a universe that seemed indifferent to their struggles. Their words were heavy, filled with the kind of hopelessness that could extinguish even the brightest light. But Lyra felt something stir within her. Her resolve, though tested, burned stronger than ever. She couldn't let their despair become hers. Yet as she tried to move forward, one of the comets lunged at her, its dim light flickering with a desperate, almost primal energy. It sought to extinguish her glow, as if her brightness was a painful reminder of what they had all lost. Lyra froze, caught between fear and determination. Should she fight back, risking her own light in the process, or should she retreat, letting their hopelessness dictate her path? In that moment, Lyra made her choice. She stood firm, her light blazing brighter than ever, a defiant beacon against the nebula's oppressive gloom. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for the very idea of hope. And as her light pushed back against the comet's despair, something extraordinary happened. The lost comets began to stir, their dim sparks flickering faintly at first, then growing stronger. They had seen something in Lyra that they thought was lost forever, a refusal to surrender, a belief in something greater than the darkness. One by one, they began to follow her, their tails reigniting with a fragile but determined glow. They weren't just following her light, they were rediscovering their own. And as Lyra led them out of the nebula, she realized that her journey wasn't just about finding her way home. It was about reminding others that even in the darkest corners of the universe, light could still be found. As the group of comets drifted closer to the looming black hole, the air, or rather, the void, seemed to grow heavier. The immense gravitational pull tugged at their fragile forms, threatening to scatter them into oblivion. Lyra, their guiding light, felt the weight of responsibility press upon her. She knew they couldn't outrun the black hole's grasp, but perhaps they could outmaneuver it. With a spark of determination, Lyra called the comets together, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. She proposed a daring plan. By combining their light, they could create a radiant pathway, a temporary shield to guide them around the black hole's edge. It was a risky move, one that required flawless timing and unshakable trust. Each comet would need to align perfectly, their light blending seamlessly to form a bridge of hope through the darkness. But as they began, one of the comets faltered, its light flickering under the strain. Panic rippled through the group as the black hole's pull grew stronger, threatening to unravel their fragile formation. In that moment, Lyra didn't hesitate. She surged forward, pouring her own light into the faltering comet, sacrificing a part of herself to keep the group intact. The act was selfless, born of a deep sense of duty and care for her companions. Her courage didn't go unnoticed. The other comets, inspired by her sacrifice, redoubled their efforts, their combined light growing brighter and more resilient. Together, they forged a luminous path, skirting the edge of the black hole and emerging safely on the other side. The experience was transformative. Not only had Lyra saved them, but she had also shown them the strength of unity and trust. The bond between the comets deepened, their faith in Lyra's leadership now unshakable. This wasn't just a victory over a cosmic threat. It was a testament to the power of selflessness and the unbreakable ties that form when leaders put others before themselves. Lyra's light may have dimmed for a moment, but her spirit burned brighter than ever, a beacon guiding her companions through the endless expanse of the universe. As Lyra and her companions drifted closer to the galaxy, cloaked in shadow, an eerie stillness settled over them. The comets, once radiant and full of energy, now flickered nervously, their light dimmed by the oppressive darkness. Stars that once burned brightly had long since faded, leaving behind a cold, lifeless expanse. The void seemed endless, a place where light itself had been swallowed whole. Lyra's followers whispered among themselves, their voices trembling with unease. "What lies ahead?" one comet asked. "This place feels wrong," murmured another. Even the bravest among them hesitated at the edge of the abyss. But Lyra, ever the seeker of the unseen, felt something else entirely. Beneath the silence, beneath the suffocating darkness, there was a faint, almost imperceptible rhythm, a pulse. It was weak, like the heartbeat of a creature clinging to life, but it was there. She turned to her companions, her light steady despite the fear swirling around her. "There is something here," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "Something alive. I must go deeper." The comets protested, their lights flickering in alarm. "It's too dangerous," they cried. "We could lose ourselves in this darkness forever." Yet Lyra's determination did not waver. She had come too far to turn back now. And so, she pressed on, her light piercing the shadows as she ventured further into the void. The deeper she went, the heavier the darkness became, pressing against her like a weight. But that faint pulse grew stronger, guiding her forward. It was as if the galaxy itself was calling to her, a whisper of hope in a sea of despair. Then at last she saw it, a single star, small and fragile, but alive. Its light was faint, like a candle flickering in a storm, but it burned with a quiet defiance. Lyra's heart swelled with awe and relief. Here, in the darkest corner of the universe, life had endured. She turned to her companions, who had followed hesitantly behind, and her light shone brighter than ever. "Do you see?" she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Even here, light survives. Even in the darkest places, hope remains." The comets, once fearful, now glowed with renewed courage. They had witnessed the impossible, a star that refused to be extinguished. And in that moment, Lyra's journey took on a deeper meaning. It wasn't just about finding light. It was about proving that no darkness, no matter how vast, could ever truly conquer it. As they gathered around the lone star, its light seemed to grow stronger, as if emboldened by their presence. Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The universe still held countless mysteries, and her path was far from over. But for now, in this quiet corner of the cosmos, she had found a beacon of hope, a reminder that even when the night seems endless, the dawn is never truly out of reach. The surviving star's voice trembled with a mix of sorrow and urgency as it spoke of an ancient force, one that had haunted the galaxy long before Lyra's journey began. "The Void Weaver," it whispered, its light flickering faintly. "A being of darkness, older than the stars themselves. It devours light, leaving only emptiness in its wake. And now it has set its gaze upon you." Lyra felt a cold ripple pass through her, as if the Weaver's shadow had already reached out to touch her. The star's warning echoed in her mind. The Weaver would come for her light next. Her light, the very essence that had carried her across the cosmos, that had given her purpose, now marked her as a target. For a moment, fear gripped her. She could flee, leaving the star behind, and continue her journey in solitude, far from the Weaver's reach. But as she looked at the fragile, fading star, she remembered her promise: to protect the light, to keep the galaxy's stories alive. How could she abandon it now? The weight of her mission pressed heavily on her, but within that weight, she found resolve. She would not run. She would stand her ground, no matter the cost. This decision, this moment, marked a turning point in her journey. It was no longer just about wandering the stars. It was about defending them. With a deep breath, Lyra began to prepare. She gathered her courage, her light glowing brighter, as if in defiance of the approaching darkness. She knew the Weaver would be unlike anything she had ever faced, a force that could unravel the very fabric of existence. But she also knew that her light Her will was strong. She would face this challenge head-on, not just for herself, but for all the stars that had come before her, and all the ones that might still shine after. The galaxy's fate, it seemed, rested in her hands, and as she stood there, readying herself for what was to come, Lyra felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Not the fleeting kind, but a steady, burning hope that even in the face of the Void Weaver, light could prevail. As Lyra and her shimmering comets floated in the vast expanse of space, the gravity of their mission pressed heavily upon her. The Void Weaver, a creature born of darkness and hunger, loomed as an ever-present threat, its tendrils reaching across galaxies to devour all light in its path. But Lyra was not alone. Her trusted comets, each glowing with their own unique brilliance, stood beside her, ready to face the danger head-on. Together, they had devised a daring plan, one that would require both cunning and courage. Their strategy: to lure the Weaver into a collapsing star system, a place where gravity itself would become their ally. Yet, the plan was not without its risks. Some of the comets would need to act as decoys, drawing the Weaver closer while others prepared the trap. For Lyra, the thought of sending her friends into harm's way was unbearable. She hesitated, her heart heavy with doubt, but the comets, unwavering in their loyalty, reassured her. "We trust you," they whispered, their voices like soft echoes in the void. "This is our fight too." With their encouragement, Lyra found the strength to proceed. The execution began, each comet moving into position with precision, their lights flickering like distant signals in the night. As the Weaver drew near, its monstrous form casting shadows across the stars, the tension became almost palpable. The moment of truth was approaching, and Lyra could only hope their plan would be enough to save the cosmos from eternal darkness. The silence of space shattered as the Void Weaver emerged, a monstrous entity that seemed to drink in the light itself. Its form was impossible to fully comprehend, shifting, writhing shadows that pulsed with a life of their own. It moved with an eerie grace, drawn to the decoy comets like a predator to prey. One by one, the comets were consumed, their light extinguished as if they had never existed. Lyra watched from her hidden vantage point, her heart heavy with grief, as each of her friends vanished into the Weaver's insatiable maw, but she couldn't falter. Not now. The stakes were too high, the plan too delicate to abandon. She clenched her fists, her resolve hardening like the core of a dying star. As the Weaver devoured the final decoy, it crossed the threshold into the collapsing system, its massive form fully engulfed by the trap Lyra had set. This was the moment she had been waiting for. With a surge of determination, she ignited her light, the brilliant energy surging through her like a supernova. The explosion that followed was deafening, even in the vacuum of space, a blinding cascade of light and energy that tore through the Weaver's shadowy form. But the force of the blast was catastrophic. Lyra was thrown backward, her vision blurring as chaos erupted around her. The collapsing system surged and rippled, its gravitational pull tugging at her as if trying to reclaim her into its depths. She tumbled through the void, disoriented and battered, her light flickering like a candle in a storm. For a moment, she wasn't sure if the Weaver was truly gone, or if the darkness around her was just another trick of its malevolent presence. As the echoes of the explosion faded, Lyra struggled to regain her bearings. Her thoughts raced. Had it worked? Was the Weaver destroyed? Or had she merely angered a force far beyond her understanding? The weight of the moment pressed down on her, but there was no time to dwell. The collapsing system was still unstable, and she had to find a way to escape before it consumed her too. Her light dimmed, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. This was far from over. The battlefield was silent now, the echoes of chaos fading into the vast emptiness of space. Lyra stirred, her once brilliant light flickering weakly, as if the weight of the battle had drained her very essence. Around her, the remnants of the cosmic storm drifted aimlessly, a haunting reminder of the price they had paid. The Void Weaver was no more, its dark presence erased from the stars, but the victory felt hollow. Where there had once been a chorus of comets, now only a few scattered lights remain. Her heart, or whatever passed for one in her celestial form, ached with a grief so profound it seemed to stretch across the galaxies. For a moment, doubt crept in. Had it been worth it? The cost was staggering, the loss of so many who had followed her into the abyss. Their lights, once vibrant and full of life, had been extinguished, leaving behind only memories etched in stardust. She felt the weight of their sacrifice pressing down on her, threatening to snuff out her own faint glow. But then, a soft shimmer caught her eye. One of her companions, a small comet with a light that barely clung to existence, drifted closer. Its voice was faint but filled with a quiet strength. "Lyra," it whispered, "look at the stars we saved. Look at the light we brought back to the darkness." Her gaze shifted, and for the first time, she truly saw it. The Void Weaver's influence had been vast, its tendrils of shadow choking entire systems. But now, those same stars burned brighter than ever, their light untainted and free. The comet was right. Their fight had not been in vain. Each fallen comrade had given their light so that others might shine. And in that realization, Lyra felt something shift within her. Grief did not vanish, but it transformed, hardening into resolve. She would not let their sacrifice be forgotten. She would not let their light fade into obscurity. With a slow, steady pulse, her own glow began to strengthen. The small comet beside her seemed to sense the change, its light flickering in solidarity. Lyra turned her gaze forward, toward the distant stars that still needed their protection. "We will honor them," she said, her voice carrying the weight of a vow. "By finishing what we started, by bringing light to every corner of the void." And with that, she began to move, her path clear once more. The journey ahead would not be easy, but it was no longer a path she walked alone. The fallen would be with her, their light forever guiding her way. As Lyra and her fellow comets drifted closer to the heart of the darkened galaxy, the air, or rather, the emptiness around them seemed to grow heavier. The faint glimmers of starlight that had once illuminated their path were now flickering like the final breaths of a dying flame. The galaxy itself felt like a vast, silent tomb, its once vibrant core now shrouded in an almost unbearable stillness. Yet as they ventured deeper, something extraordinary came into view. A colossal star, dormant and seemingly lifeless, its surface cold and dark, but Lyra could sense it. A faint pulse, a whisper of energy buried deep within. This star wasn't dead, it was waiting. The realization hit her like a shockwave. If awakened, This star could reignite the galaxy, restoring light to countless worlds and reigniting the celestial dance of creation. But there was a catch, a cost so steep it made her very essence tremble. To awaken the star, Lyra would have to channel all of her own light into it, leaving nothing behind. She would have to surrender herself completely, becoming one with the star to spark its rebirth. The thought was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Could she truly give up everything she was, her memories, her journey, her very existence, for the sake of a galaxy that might never even know her name? The comets around her seemed to sense her turmoil, their faint glows flickering in silent support. They had followed her this far, trusting her to lead them through the darkness. Yet now, the choice was hers alone. As Lyra gazed at the dormant star, she felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about legacy. Would she cling to her own light, fleeting as it was, or would she become the spark that rekindled an entire galaxy? The silence around her seemed to stretch endlessly, as if the cosmos itself was holding its breath, waiting for her decision. In that moment, Lyra thought of all she had seen: the dying stars, the forgotten worlds, the endless void that had swallowed so much beauty. She thought of the comets who had stayed by her side, their loyalty unwavering even in the face of oblivion. And she thought of the countless lives that might never exist if the galaxy remained shrouded in darkness. The choice was agonizing, but deep within her, a quiet resolve began to grow. Perhaps this was the reason she had been wandering all along, not just to survive, but to become something greater, not just to shine, but to light the way for others. The galaxy needed her, and though the cost was unimaginable, she knew what she had to do. As Lyra prepared to surrender her light, a chilling ripple spread through the darkness. The Void Weaver, though diminished, emerged once more, its form flickering like a dying flame, but still radiating menace. Its tendrils reached out, clawing toward Lyra with a hunger that seemed to echo the endless void itself. For a moment, the weight of her decision pressed heavily on her, but then, a spark of defiance ignited within her core. From the depths of the cosmic expanse, the comets who had journeyed with her surged forward, their shimmering trails painting streaks of light across the black canvas of space. Together, they formed a radiant barrier, a living shield of starlight that pulsed with the collective strength of their resolve. The Void Weaver recoiled, its shadowy form thrashing against the brilliance, unable to breach the wall of light. Lyra watched, her heart swelling with gratitude and resolve. Each comet that joined the barrier was a testament to the bonds they had forged, a reminder of the sacrifices made along this harrowing journey. Her light flickered faintly as she began the process of releasing it, but her determination burned brighter than ever. This was her moment, her final chance to honor the friends who had given everything to bring her this far. The Weaver's presence was a stark reminder of what was at stake, but it only fueled her courage. She would not falter, not now, not when the fate of the cosmos hung in the balance. The comets held their ground, their light unwavering, as Lyra focused on the task ahead. The Weaver's weakened state was a small mercy, but she knew better than to underestimate it. Every passing moment was precious, every flicker of light a step closer to her ultimate purpose. And as the barrier of comets held firm, Lyra's resolve crystallized into an unshakable truth. This was her destiny, and she would see it through, no matter the cost. Lyra stood at the heart of the dormant star, her hands trembling as she poured every last glimmer of her light into its core. The air around her hummed with a quiet, desperate energy, as if the universe itself held its breath. She could feel at her essence, her very being, slipping away with each passing moment. The light that had once burned so brightly within her now flowed outward, a river of hope, cascading into the star's silent depths. But even as her strength waned, her resolve did not falter. She had come too far, fought too hard to turn back now. Somewhere beyond the star's shimmering shell, the Weaver unleashed a deafening roar, its shadowy tendrils clawing at the barrier Lyra had fought so desperately to maintain. The comets, her steadfast companions, surged forward in one final, defiant stand. Their luminous trails cut through the void like blades, weaving a protective shield around the star. Yet even their courage seemed no match for the Weaver's relentless fury. The barrier cracked, splintering under the weight of its assault, and the darkness began to seep through. But as the Weaver's shadow reached for Lyra, something extraordinary happened. The star, once cold and lifeless, began to stir. A faint pulse of light emanated from its core, growing stronger with every beat. Lyra's light, now intertwined with the star, awakened something ancient and powerful. Brilliance erupted from within, a radiant burst that pushed back the encroaching darkness. The Weaver's screech of fury echoed through the cosmos, its form writhing as the light consumed it. For a fleeting moment, Lyra felt a surge of triumph. The Weaver's hold was weakening, its shadow dissolving under the star's newfound radiance, but her own strength was nearly spent. The light she had given was not just a part of her, it was her. Her body grew faint, her form flickering like a dying flame. She had given everything, and now, as the star's light blazed brighter than ever, Lyra's own began to fade. Yet even in her final moments, there was no regret. The star's awakening was her legacy, a beacon of hope that would shine long after she was gone. The comets, now glowing with the star's reflected brilliance, circled her protectively, their light a silent tribute to her sacrifice. The Weaver's roars grew distant, its form unraveling under the star's relentless glow, and as Lyra's essence merged completely with the star, she felt a profound sense of peace. The darkness would not win, not today, not ever. As the final surge of energy coursed through Lyra's core, the star she had nurtured burst into life, its brilliance erupting like a cosmic dawn. Waves of light cascaded across the galaxy, bathing distant planets and nebulae in a radiant glow. This wasn't just light, it was life itself, a spark that would kindle the fires of creation on worlds yet to be born. Lyra's essence pulsed with the star's heartbeat, her purpose fulfilled, her sacrifice complete. Her once solid form began to unravel, dissolving into shimmering particles that danced like stardust in the void. Yet, even as her body faded, her spirit soared. She gazed out at the comets she had inspired, their tails now ablaze with newfound brilliance. Each one carried her legacy, her hope, her dream, scattering it across the cosmos like seeds in a cosmic garden. In that moment, Lyra felt a tranquility deeper than any she had known. Her journey, though filled with trials and solitude, had brought light to the darkest corners of the universe. She had become more than a wanderer. She was a beacon, a guide, a storyteller whose tale would echo through the ages. As her final fragments drifted into the ether, she knew her story would live on, not in her form, but in the countless worlds now touched by her light. And so, Lyra's journey ended not with silence, but with a symphony of light and life, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the eternal dance of the cosmos. As Lyra's essence gently dissolved into the vastness of space, it was as if the cosmos itself paused to honor her. Her particles, once bound to the fragile comet, now scattered like stardust, merging with the very light she had worked so tirelessly to create. It was a moment of both sorrow and beauty, a quiet, shimmering farewell that echoed across the galaxy. The comets, her loyal companions, watched in silent reverence, their icy trails glowing faintly as if reflecting her final radiance. Though they grieved her absence, they knew her spirit was far from gone. Instead, it had become part of everything woven into the fabric of the universe itself. And so, with heavy hearts but unwavering resolve, the comets made a solemn promise. They would carry Lyra's legacy forward, spreading light wherever their paths led. Each streak across the sky became a tribute to her, a reminder of the hope she had ignited and the purpose she had found. As they soared through the darkness, they left behind trails of starlight, tiny sparks that seemed to whisper her name. Meanwhile, the galaxy began to heal. Where once there had been chaos and shadow, there was now renewal. From the remnants of Lyra's sacrifice, new stars burst into existence, each one a testament to her courage and selflessness. These stars, bright and vibrant, illuminated the once distant corners of space, bringing warmth and life to places that had long been forgotten. Lyra's dream of finding purpose had been fulfilled, but her story didn't end there. It lived on in the light she left behind, a light that would continue to guide, inspire, and remind all who saw it that even the smallest spark could change the course of the universe. And as the comets journeyed onward, they carried not just her memory, but the very essence of her hope, ensuring that her light would never fade. As the comets journeyed further into the cosmos, their path took them to the farthest reaches of distant galaxies, places where stars burned faintly and the silence of space seemed to stretch forever. Each comet carried with them the story of Lyra, a tale of courage and selflessness that had once saved an entire galaxy. The story began to spread like stardust, whispered from one comet to another, igniting sparks of hope in the darkest corners of the universe. Along the way, they encountered other comets, lonely wanderers who had lost their way, drifting aimlessly through the void. These lost comets, once directionless, were drawn to the light that Lyra's story carried. They listened as the travelers spoke of her sacrifice, of how she had given herself to save others, and how her light had become a force powerful enough to banish the consuming void. Inspired by her legacy, these comets chose to join the mission, their own faint glows growing brighter as they embraced the purpose Lyra had left behind. The light that had begun as a single spark now multiplied, a constellation of comets moving together through the galaxies. Each one carried a piece of Lyra's story, a reminder that even the smallest act of courage could ripple across the universe. The galaxy she had saved became a beacon, its stars shining with a brilliance that seemed to defy the emptiness around it. It stood as a testament to what could be achieved when one being chose to stand against the darkness, not for themselves, but for the sake of all. And so, the comets continued their journey, their light growing stronger with every new ally they found. the tale of Lyra became a living force, a story that transcended time and space, reminding every corner of the universe that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever truly lost. The galaxies they passed through began to change, their once darkened edges now shimmering with the faint glow of hope, a legacy that would endure long after the comets had moved on, carrying Lyra's light to even greater distances. In the vast expanse of space, where silence reigns and time stretches endlessly, a small spark ignites. A new comet is born. Its light is soft, almost shy, as if unsure of its place among the glittering tapestry of the cosmos. At first, it drifts without direction, a solitary traveler in the void, but even in its aimlessness, something stirs within it, a faint, flickering dream. It begins to wonder what lies beyond the quiet corner of the universe it calls home. Then, like a whisper carried on the wings of starlight, a story reaches it. The tale of Lyra, the Wandering Comet, drifts through the void, carried by the gentle voices of distant stars. The story speaks of courage, of purpose, of a comet that refused to remain small and dim, choosing instead to chase the unknown. As the newborn comet hears this tale, something shifts. Its light grows stronger, brighter, as if the very stars are encouraging it to dream bigger. No longer content to drift aimlessly, the comet sets its course, inspired by Lyra's journey. It begins to move, slowly at first, then with growing determination. It isn't just wandering anymore, it's searching for meaning, for connection, for a place where its light might shine the brightest. The endless dream of the wandering comet becomes its own, a beacon guiding it forward. And so, another traveler joins the cosmic dance, its light a testament to the power of stories and the dreams they awaken. As the wandering comet drifted through the vast expanse of space, it found itself drawn to a faint, flickering light in the distance. There, suspended in the velvet darkness, was a dying star, its once brilliant glow now reduced to a fragile shimmer. The star's trembling voice reached out, a soft echo of the plea Lyra had heard so long ago. It spoke of a final wish, a plea for its light to live on, even as its own time drew to a close. The comet hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. In that instant, it understood the gravity of the choice before it. This wasn't just about carrying light. It was about bearing the legacy of a star's last breath, its final gift to the universe. With a surge of determination, the comet moved closer, its core resonating with the star's fading energy. As it absorbed the light, a profound transformation took place. The comet's core trembled, not just with the physical weight of the newfound energy, but with the emotional weight of purpose. This act was more than a transaction. It was a promise. The comet now carried not only the star's light, but also its story, a story of sacrifice, of hope, and of the enduring cycle that binds the cosmos together. In that moment, the comet became more than a wanderer. It became a torchbearer, a living testament to Lyra's legacy. And so, the cycle began anew. Somewhere, in the infinite reaches of space, another star would one day whisper its final plea, and another comet would rise to answer the call. The legacy of Lyra's sacrifice rippled outward, inspiring comets across the cosmos to carry the light, to keep the stories alive, and to ensure that no star's final breath would ever be in vain. The universe, vast and eternal, thrived on these moments of connection, each one a thread in the endless tapestry of existence. The comet soared onward, its light now brighter, its purpose clearer. It was no longer just a wanderer, it was a guardian of stories, a keeper of light, and a bridge between the past and the future. And as it journeyed through the stars, it carried with it the quiet promise that even in the darkest corners of the cosmos, light would always find a way to endure. The galaxy of Lyra, once teetering on the edge of darkness, now pulses with life and light, its stars glowing with a brilliance that defies the void. Each beam of light tells a story of a wandering comet whose courage and sacrifice ignited a cosmic transformation. The comets she inspired, now countless in number, weave through the cosmos like threads of hope, carrying with them the legacy of Lyra's dream. They travel far and wide, illuminating distant worlds and forgotten corners of the universe, ensuring that no place is ever left in shadow. Lyra's essence lingers in the very fabric of the light she created. It's there in the warmth of a star's glow, in the shimmer of a comet's tail, and in the quiet hum of galaxies spinning in harmony. Though her journey has ended, her presence remains a silent guardian, a whisper of hope in the vast expanse of space. She is no longer just a comet. She has become part of the universe itself, a timeless reminder that even the smallest spark can ignite an endless flame. And so, her dream lives on, carried forward by the comets she inspired and the stars she saved. It's a dream that stretches beyond time and space, a testament to the power of one comet's journey to change the fate of the cosmos. In the endless dance of the universe, Lyra's light endures, a beacon for all who wander, reminding us that even in the darkest corners of existence, there's always a chance to shine.